I close my eyes and colors fly. There's no hiding from your grace. I can't deny your heart from mine in this unrelenting grace. And I was on the edge of deception, caught up in my own hesitation, until your love took over me. Come on, sing it out. So I let go and I let love show me life like it's supposed to be. An oasis here awaits us, all the freedom I'll ever need. Now I'm alive. Oh la la, oh la la. When I let go, then I find life. Oh la la, oh la la. When I let go, then I found life. La 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 la. When I let go, then I found life.
The higher way is calling me, come on, to a life unlike before. The Father's heart is beckoning, yeah, and I can't resist no more. Lead me in the ways of devotion. Don't wanna get caught in emotions.
My heart is only for you, Lord. Come on, sing it out. So I let go and I let love show me life like it's supposed to be. An oasis here awaits us, all the freedom I'll ever need. Now I'm alive. Oh la la, oh la la. When I let go, then I found life. Oh la la, oh la la. When I let go, then I found life. La 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 la. When I let go, then I found life. How are we doing tonight? So I let go and I let love show me life like it's supposed to be. An oasis here awaits us, all the freedom I'll ever need. Now I'm alive. Come on, sing it out. When I let go, then I found life. When I let go, then I found life. La la la. When I let go, then I found life. Oh la la, oh la la. When I let go, then I found life. Oh la la, oh la la. When I let go, then I found life. You're moving within the smallest moment, from sunrise to sunset. I know that you are in it. Here I remember all you've been. You prove yourself time and again. Come on. You are for, no, you will never leave.
make your way back to your seats. Let's focus our attention up on the front for the next message in the series, Somehow I Manage.
Yo, what up, students? We're in the middle of a series called Somehow I Manage, and we are talking about what God thinks about work. And last week, we discovered that we were designed on purpose with work in mind. And that work is supposed to be our opportunity to be Jesus to other people. And we need to think of our work as a ministry opportunity. And if you're at all like me, like the first time I heard that, I kind of like balked a little bit. And it's because like things aren't always easy at work. Like, what if I don't like my job? What if I don't like the kid I sit next to in class? What if I'm not good at math or science? Like, how do I view that as ministry when I don't always like it? And I think the reason we have these thoughts and emotions, and those thoughts and emotions aren't honestly ever gonna go away, but the reason we believe them, and the reason we think it's gonna be really hard to view our work as ministry, is we've allowed some lies to seep into what we believe about work. And so today we're gonna do something a little bit different. We're gonna look at 3 lies that I think the world has been telling us about work. And we're gonna unpack how Jesus maybe would give us a different view on those things. And I think if we internalized those different viewpoints, we could be Christ-centered difference makers that viewed our work as ministry. So here's the plan. Come with me. We're gonna talk about this first lie. Listen, we're gonna come back to this one. All right, when I was in 3rd grade, my parents picked my 3rd grade teacher. And as you probably know, if your parents pick your 3rd grade teacher, you for sure aren't getting the cool, hip, young, fun teacher. You're getting the old, crazy, scary teacher. And my 3rd grade teacher, her name was Mrs. Douglas. And not only was she my scary 3rd grade teacher, she was also my next door neighbor. And I was thrown into this world. And I ended up learning things, and she's a great person, and I learned a lot. But I was scared for a while. But one of the things we did in 3rd grade that you probably also did in 3rd grade was talk about what we wanted to be when we grew up. So I'm curious, tell the person next to you, in 3rd grade, what did you want to be when you grew up? Mrs. Douglas, like every great 3rd grade teacher, kept telling us, hey, we could be anything that we wanted to be. And as a 3rd grader, that's a pretty cool thing to think about. And so myself, like every dude in 3rd grade in the entire world, was like, I want to play in the NFL. And I wrote that down, and I was excited about it. And I had a mentor, not even a mentor, I didn't know this guy, some random dude in the NFL. His name was Reggie White. He was my idol, and I wanted to be like him. And so I set my focus on being a professional football player. Listen, I got to do some cool things. I got to go play college at like a Division II school, and I got to do some cool things with football. But it became incredibly obvious as I was getting older that like I did not grow into someone who has the physical capabilities to play in the NFL. And I think the lie that a lot of us have come to believe is this lie: we can be anything that we want to be. And that lie maybe seems benign. It doesn't seem like a big deal, but I think if we're not careful, over time, if we believe that to be true, we subtly kind of think that we're the main character of this entire universe. We get to make every decision for ourselves, and what we want to do matters more than what God wants us to do. And here's what I think we should believe. Instead of the fact that we believe we can do anything that we want to be, what if we instead believe that we can be anything that God created us to be? King David, in the book of Psalms, this is kind of like his personal journal. He writes this, Psalms 139. For you created my inmost being. You knit me together in my mother's womb. I praise you because I am fearfully and wonderfully made. Your works are wonderful, and I know this so well. And God designed us with purpose. And he designed us on purpose. And we've been placed in a spot where we could be used by him to be Jesus to others. Man, God's placed you where you've been placed on purpose. And he has a plan for your life, and he wants to use you. Man, imagine if we didn't spend so much time thinking that we had the authority to pick anything we wanted to do, and we just simply realized that we can't do everything. It doesn't matter how much I want to play in the NBA. I'm 6'2". It doesn't matter how much I want to play in the NFL. I'm like not tall enough. It doesn't matter how much I want to fly jet planes. Like I'm too tall for that. It doesn't matter how much I want to design and engineer bridges. Like I'm not that smart. Like that's not how God designed me. So instead of being so concerned about doing exactly what I want to do, what if we take some time to look internally at ourselves and then think what God has called and designed us to do? And I think if we do that, we can start being students that view our work as ministry. Not yet. We're coming. Trust me, we're coming back to this. All right, I'll get to this. This will all make sense in a second. But before I do that, I have to admit something to you. Like, man, I'm a complainer. Like, it's problematic how much I complain. And it just comes out at all times. And I especially do it when I'm working, when I'm at a job that I don't like, and I find all sorts of dumb reasons to complain. It's just something that I always do. And I don't think I'm the only person that's a complainer. So you know what? Why don't all of you right now tell the person next to you the hardest day of work you've ever had to do? Okay, guys, when I was in high school, I had a job picking asparagus. My best friend in high school, his parents own an asparagus farm, and every year for about 6 weeks, I would go and pick this cursed vegetable. And the way that it would work is I was on this cart, this slow-moving cart, and you would slowly drive over top of rows of asparagus like this, and as you go by, they're coming out of the ground, and you would just use your fingers to snap it off, and you put it in a basket, and you would do this all day. And it would probably take you, not all day, that's a lie, it'd take you like 4 hours to do the whole field. And sometimes on Saturdays when it was really hot, you'd get to the end of the field and then you would go back and start over because fun asparagus fact, asparagus can grow 7 inches in one day if it's hot. So you literally could watch asparagus grow if you wanted to. I really wanted to do that weird visual shot there. Here's the thing though, that job sucked. It was hot, the sun was beating down on you, you were on this cart and you were bent over the whole time and you smell gross, you smell like asparagus. And like most jobs I had, I just complained all the time. And I complained so much that the boss, my best friend's mom, had to come and talk to me about it. She had to say, listen, Jake, your attitude is affecting the people around you. Maybe you're still doing your job, but your attitude sucks so much that other people around you aren't doing theirs very well. And I think the reason that myself and maybe you as well feel empowered to complain about work is we believe the lie that work is a necessary evil. That it's just something that we all have to do, and we're gonna do it till we die, and it's gonna suck, and it's gonna be terrible, and it just is what it is. So we can mumble and complain and be frustrated nonstop when we work. And the reality is, that's not true at all. We talked about last week how we were designed with work in mind. And Paul, in the New Testament, writes to the city of Colossae, and in Colossians 3, verse 17, he says this. He says this, "And whatever you do, whether in word or deed, do it all in the name of Lord Jesus, giving thanks to God the Father through him." And then he doubles down. Just 6 verses later, he says this, "Whatever you do, work at it with all of your heart, as if working for the Lord and not men." Man, listen, I gotta be honest. I'm not very good at this. I don't do a very good job of attacking my workday like I'm working actually for Jesus. And I think when we realize and when we internally think that work is just a necessary evil, it empowers us to be a complainer. And the reality is, when we complain, it is impossible for people to see Jesus in our life. My attitude was so poor when I picked asparagus that the people around me would have never thought that I loved Jesus, simply because I thought it was okay to complain about everything. And I kind of have a question for you. Are you a complainer? When you're at school, do you always have something negative to say? When you're at work, is something always too hard or too difficult, or is everything just one other way that you can complain? And I think if that's you, could you be honest and just say, do you think you're being Jesus when you complain? I know for me, the answer is no. Man, I have to be someone that rejects this lie that work is just supposed to suck. Because the reality is, like we've been talking about, God designed us with work in mind. And we need to attack our job, attack our work like it's ministry, so that we can be Jesus to other people. Guys, we're finally here. We're finally to the dartboard. When I was a student pastor a couple years ago at the Anthem campus, we just launched, and there was a student in my ministry, and his name was Matt Davidson. And this dude, his whole life had wanted to be in the military. He grew up in a military family, and he, from an early age, maybe from 3rd grade, had decided he wanted to be in the military. He did all this research, he looked into it, and he was excited about it. But as a junior and a senior, he started getting more involved at church, and we started talking a little bit, and he had this internal dilemma. Maybe I'm supposed to go into ministry. Maybe I'm supposed to work at a church. And we were kind of helping him unpack that and talking about that. And really what I could just sense from Matt is he just felt a ton of pressure. He felt a ton of pressure to make the exact right choice in the exact right moment. And he felt like people were telling him what to do from all different angles. His teacher was saying something, his parents were saying something, his pastor was saying something, his recruiter was saying something. And he felt pushed to the fire because he felt like he needed to make the exact right decision. And so, quick, do you feel any pressure to make the exact right career choice? maybe for some of you, you don't feel that pressure at all. Maybe you're a freshman or a sophomore, but some of you, as you start getting older, I bet you might realize and might think that I'm talking right to you. Like you feel all this stress and anxiety about picking the exact right choice for you. And it kind of feels like you got a dart and you're standing at the end of the dartboard and you're just about to throw it and you feel all this pressure that you have to hit the exact right bullseye with your career choice. And we, over time, have believed this lie that there's only one right vocation for us. And if we make the wrong choice now, we're gonna be screwed up for the rest of time. And I think what's crazy is, you and I, we both believe in a God that I think is way bigger than us and way smarter than us and knows way more than us. And if we believe, like we talked about earlier, what David said, that we were designed with a purpose, that we were fearfully and wonderfully made, and if we live like Paul in the way that he was like talking, hey, do everything you do like you're doing it for Jesus, I think if we do those things and if we believe those things, I think that God can use us anywhere. And that should be incredibly freeing. That should remove the pressure that we feel to make the exact right choice in our vocation. Now, let's just be clear. Like, what I'm not telling you to do is just walk up to this career path dartboard and close your eyes and just throw random darts. Like, that's stupid. Like, you should maybe aim a little bit. And so I'm gonna give you two ways that I think you could aim your career. And they're simple things, but I think they could be helpful. And the first thing for you is this. Be a noticer. Like, notice things in the world that you could fix, problems that you feel like you could solve. And you don't have to hyper spiritualize this. Like, just notice things like, hey, I think that I add a ton of value editing videos and changing sound. Like, I think I'm wired to be an engineer, that I could fix things and make things better. Or maybe I love being around students and I think I can offer value to them as a teacher. And when you start opening up your eyes to notice things around you and notice ways that you can improve things, I think that starts to narrow your focus on what you could choose to do for the rest of your life. So I think if we do that, that's helpful. But the second thing I think we need to do is we need to think about what we're good at. David mentioned in Psalms before, like, we were fearfully and wonderfully made and we were designed with a purpose. And I think a good task for a lot of us students to just undertake is this idea of discovering how we've been built and what we're good at. And like, oftentimes when we try to do this, we start to say dumb things like, I'm good at math, or I'm good at basketball, or I can play football. And like sure, maybe you are good at those things. That's not really what I mean. There's like spiritual discipline, like there's like spiritual tests that you can take. How are you gifted? And maybe it's Strength Finders tests that you can jump into and take. And they're gonna tell you words that I think are a little bit more valuable. They're gonna say what strengths you have. Like, maybe you're a great encourager. Maybe you're good at building relationships. Maybe you're super organized. Maybe you think in details. And as you start to realize the way that God's created you, and you start noticing the things that you want to fix, I think what's cool is this bullseye becomes a little bigger. It becomes a little easier to hit because there's a lot of things that fit within those two things. And I think if we as students realize that God can use us anywhere because He is God, and we start actively thinking about the things that we want to fix and actively thinking about the ways that we've been wired, I think that should relieve a ton of stress, the stress that we feel to make the exact right choice with our career path. Back to Matt Davidson, who I was talking about. I remember this conversation clearly. He walked up to me and he's like, hey, Jake, I think I'm going to choose the military. And I think what's funny is he kind of felt like he was letting me down. I think the reality is the church has kind of screwed this up a little bit. The church has kind of put working at a church up on a pedestal, and that's just not really true. Like, it's awesome. Please come work at a church if you want to, but like, you can be used anywhere. And so Matt pursues the military, and I call Matt like once a year. Matt's my favorite phone call. Because every time I call Matt, he picks up the phone and he talks to me like he's in the military. You know what I mean? He's like, put him in any military movie, that's how he speaks. But every time I talk to Matt, he's got names and he's got receipts of dudes that love Jesus because of him. That dude has walked more people towards Jesus being in the military than maybe he ever would working at a church. God can use you anywhere. Matt's decided to view his work as ministry, and because of that, God's using him in incredible ways. Man, students, what if we lived like that? What if we like let down the pressure of choosing the exact right thing and just allowed God to work in our lives? Imagine the incredible things that we could accomplish. Come with me, we're gonna wrap this thing up. And I'm curious, what lies have you believed about work? Are you someone that's believed the lie that you can be anything that you want to be, and because of that, you become this main character, this person that thinks the world revolves around you? And maybe you need to remember that you were designed with a purpose and you get to be who God designed you to be. Or maybe you believe the lie that work is a necessary evil and it's always gonna suck and you're gonna do it till you die, and so you can just complain and you can hate your life while you're at work. Maybe you need to realize that you were designed for work and God calls you to work well. And that the way that you work oftentimes is a great reflection of Jesus in your life. Are you being a good witness when you're at school or when you're working at McDonald's or In-N-Out or at your buddy's asparagus farm? Or maybe you believe the lie that there's only one exact path that you can choose. And you're just living with all this stress and anxiety because you feel like you have to make the exact right choice right now. And for you just need to realize that, man, we believe in a big God. And God could use you wherever you land. And you can just remind yourself of just being someone that notices things and then being someone that's aware of the things that Jesus has gifted you in, the gifts that you have. And you can use that information to make a good choice in your career. Man, we are called to be Jesus wherever we are. And a big chunk of our life, we're gonna spend it working. Are you gonna be someone that is Jesus while you work? Are you gonna be someone that when people look at you, the way that you do your homework, the way that you sit in class, the way that you mop the floor, when they look at the way you work, do people see Jesus in your life? Man, I hope they do. And I think if they do, that's gonna put you forward as someone who really is a Christ-centered difference maker. Let's go be like Jesus this week.